let's do this. Eshan Sharma. भाई ये तो बहुत similar नाम है. Alright, Eshan. So I got to know about Karwaan क्योंकि she sent me a post on Instagram. तुम्हारे Instagram page से जहाँ पे there was a heritage walk being organized and the topic was I think the Tawaifs of Delhi. तो वो बहुत ही intriguing था कि भाई ये क्या है. And then I went to your page और I started rat holing और फिर तो मैं flip ही हो गया. But I wanted to like ask you about this सबसे पहले. I'm fascinated about the idea of like Tawaifs and their role especially in Lucknow, Delhi during the 1857 wala scene. So just tell me more about that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Divyansh. Or because people like her, we do not pay Instagram for our ads. And
the super fans.
The super fans. And it costs nothing. But about Tawaifs, I think Tawaifs played a very big role in our history. And not just Tawaifs, women played a big role, which I think is not that credited. In our history textbooks. We do not read about her story. We talk about his story.
I think you spoke about it in the She the People.
They very article, kindly asked me for an interview, but nonetheless, I'll repeat that same thing here. That Tawaifs were, they were non-violent, of course, and they were very learned people. They developed the language. They developed the culture that we have, of dance and music, all sorts of Urdu. So they had a very rich background. They knew Farsi, they knew Urdu, a lot of them. And they held a very important place in the hierarchy because they were very close to the rulers, they were very close to the clergy, the eminent people. So what they did was they used to pass on the secret messages during revolt, as I've heard from historians. And in that sense, they were very crucial to our history. But of course, after independence, what happened was the profession kind of declined because there was no Nawabi culture. And that became sex work. And you have sex workers now living in terrible conditions, inhuman totally. They are uneducated. They don't know the basics. And even about sex education. So now the thing have gone really bad. So the main motive behind this walk, which was of course curated by Gaurav, who is a walk leader and a very good friend of mine. So the main motive of this walk was to make people aware of the role that Tawaifs played as the custodians of culture, maybe caretakers of our culture, rich culture of Delhi, of Lucknow, of different areas in Hyderabad also. So wherever Nawabi culture was there, history was there, these Tawaifs played as the caretakers of or promoters of these. And there are incidences where emperors used to send their children to study under Tawaifs. So they really played big role. So that's how these people are important, and it's important to remember their contributions.
So I think the issue is in the terminology. So what's the difference between like a Tawaif and what we consider the idea that we have in our minds when we see movies like Umrao Jahan or ye sab? So what's the difference between like a Tawaif and what we say Nachnewaali or even a prostitute?
Yeah, so these are totally different professions. Prostitution, as you might know, is the oldest profession in some senses. It was there in ancient India. So Tawaifs were highly educated and they were into dance and music, of course. But they were also, as I said, custodians. Whereas Nachnewaali and I think others were not of the same caliber. But yeah, there's a huge difference with the terminology. Or we, associate Tawaifs as if with sex, with sexual things. And, there's a word called Kotha, so Kothewali.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we associate them, which is very saddening. And that's also because, as I said, post-independence, their status kind of declined.
Yeah, I think I read an article about the last living Tawaif in Lucknow.
That was, she was interviewed by, a friend and a great scholar, Veena Talwar Goldenberg. And she has written a great book on the Tawaifs of Lucknow. And if you want to read more about Tawaif, there's a person called Saba Diwan and her book called Tawaif Nama, which I would recommend everybody. It's sold out on Amazon or other places, but
I'm
if you
sure you
find
can
that,
find like an e-copy.
yeah, if you LibGen is dead.
Oh.
They kind of closed down today LibGen, which was our Zlib online.
Yeah, it's one. The name keeps changing. One
Yeah, yeah.
lib, one lib.
So it's the best place for us, the students, to kind of get books.
It's not working anymore. Why?
No, I just got a message this morning that Zlib is dead.
Shit.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a rumor or I'm believing in WhatsApp University, but one of my Karwaan teammate sent me a message that we won't be able to download books.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so we don't know.
My laptop is literally full of PDFs and EPUBs from lib.
Yeah, likewise. But yeah, people should read about Tawaifs and they should understand. I think that same issue is also with the Mughal harem. When we called we haram, as it is called, we kind of associate it with sex, a center for sex for all these emperors. But in reality, harem was a place, a domestic place where women could have agency of their own. Because women in public sphere did not have that agency at that time. This was the place where they had some agency. It was a private space for women. So we have to kind of change that, and for that you must read Ruby Lal. Her work on domesticity in Mughal India is something to...
What's the name of the book?
It's called Domesticity and something in Mughal India. It's, I think Ashoka Press has just
We'll
released
take a separate list from you.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that towards the end, yeah.
So now we'll hop on to Karwaan,
Huh.
right? And its idea. How did it start, first of all? And the idea of heritage walks, how did it all combine and how did it start?
So Karwaan, we started Karwaan, and the story is very funny. We were getting metro from Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, which is our metro station for Dayal Singh College, where we studied,
Yeah.
to Kashmiri Gate, and I had my friend Nishant with me. We were discussing that Ramjas is going to this good heritage walk to Orcha, why not us do something? So I asked him, yaar, tu ek presentation bana and we'll show it to the HOD and let's see what he says about the trip. And we knew that they had no money, all these departments, they don't have funds to sponsor good trips. So we thought we'll crowdfund, we'll ask the students to pay and we'll go to Orcha. But that never materialized. I still have the PowerPoint with me on my laptop. It's called Walk and Learn Initiative that we called. And that plan failed. But then I used that idea. I thought, why not we students get together and organize something for ourselves. And at that time, Rahi was also there, Miranda Houses. I think it's still there. But we didn't know about that in our college at that time. So we thought, let's get together, ek morcha banate and let's start bunking classes and go to these monuments around our... And the basic aim actually
That's
was...
actually a great idea.
Yeah.
Sounds more fruitful, honestly.
The basic aim was to make history beyond,
The classroom.
beyond classrooms. Because education of history is limited to 4 walls of a classroom. Teachers and professors teach you. You kind of use Instagram while in class. You kind of talk to your friends while in class. You don't pay attention. Like me, I never kind of paid attention in my class when I was in DU. But through this experiment that we did, people started taking history very seriously. Because whatever you read in textbook, when you see it in front of you, it kind of resonates.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes sense कि अच्छा जो हमने पढ़ा था कि अच्छा this is kind of the architecture. Here is that kind of the architecture.
This is like the practical.
Practical.
Aspect,
Like almost like a visual representation of it. Makes
Because
sense.
what we often associate history with rote learning, which I think is not, it should not be the case. And that's when we kind of established Walk and Learn Initiative. It was Karwaan's first name. I organized the first walk to Kalam Memorial in INA Delhi Hat. Nobody came for the walk. It was only me who kind of came for the walk. And after that I got to meet Sohail Hashmi to just put this
Who
story
is
forward.
the documentary filmmaker?
Documentary filmmaker, one of the best heritage walk leaders in Delhi, one of the most senior. And I requested him, I just asked him, okay, sir, we run this student initiative in Dayal Singh College. Would you like to just lead a walk for us? He said, okay, I'll lead the walk. And he did that on 14 September 2019. I think that was the day when he led a walk for us in Tughlakabad. And he's one of the best heritage walk leaders, one of the senior, one of the first walk leaders in Delhi actually. One of the first.
So
not
what
first.
do you mean by a walk leader? Especially when you talk about heritage walks.
A
What's
walk
the
leader
role
is
of
somebody who kind of leads the walk. In sense, he's not a tourist guide. A tour guide is somebody who's not well read and they speak anything. I was somewhere in Agra. They said कि यहाँ अनारकली सोती थी. ये उनका बेड है. That was a 50-meter long, not 50, 100-meter long brick thing.
That caught me off guard एकदम से.
So, मैंने कहा वो बिगफुट तो नहीं होंगी.
Thumbnail, Anarkali, Bigfoot? Question mark, exclamation mark.
So that kind of thing happens in India where tour guide tell you anything on anything. कि यहीं से चलते थे, यहाँ से वो वहाँ बैठते थे, वहाँ से वो सब आंसर्स करते थे अपने प्रजा के, और कहीं से नहीं, यहीं से जाते थे. तो
But I think
ऐसे
it's because of the job also, na? Like they have competitors आसपास,
Yeah,
तो like
yeah. So they
उनको
have
सबसे ज्यादा ऐसे interesting करना है history को.
Yeah.
narrative भी उसका इतना
Yeah,
interesting
उनको
लगता है.
सबसे पहले accessible बनाना है history लोगों के लिए.
Yeah, so heritage walk leader is somebody who it's an informal term which all of us use, all the heritage walks use to talk about the resource person that we have, and usually they are much educated, they know about history, real history or authentic history. There's no real history, but there's authentic history, and that's another talking point that we could have. What is objective in it? There's no objective history, unfortunately, as E.H. Carr said. So yeah, that's a walk leader who leads a heritage walk, history walk.
So basically a storyteller.
A storyteller. Yeah, one of the qualities of a good walk leader is they should be a good storytellers, because history is, his story, her story. So these are all stories. You need a person who could tell you the story that might interest you. The story could be boring, but the way they are presenting the story should be interesting.
So like the narrator has to
narration,
be
yeah.
interesting. Like how did you come up with the name Karwaan?
So for walk and learn nobody came na. I thought ये नाम तो बकवास है. Walk and learn में कोई आ नहीं रहा है. I should make it a little rhythmic, poetic or something. Then I started looking for words. Half of them were already taken. You have you have Tariq, you have Itihas, you have history, you have history walks, you have all sorts of names are they already have started using it, they have established themselves. Karwaan was a name that was also taken by a fellow walk leader, a very good walk leader. His work is Delhi Karwaan.
Oh.
But we didn't know about that when we started. So we kept it Karwaan. But we said कि अच्छा Karwaan क्योंकि काफ़ी common हो सकता है, क्योंकि Karwaan literally means the
a bunch of people coming
procession
together.
और हाँ लोग जा रहे हैं कहीं पर. तो we added the Heritage Exploration Initiative. We made it a long name. We thought कि लंबे नाम से काफ़ी वजन बढ़ेगा. So we called it Karwaan, the Heritage Exploration Initiative. That's how we came up with the name.
There's also this famous poem also, right? Like लोग जुड़ते गए, कारवां बन गया.
हाँ, मजरू सुल्तानपुरी है शायद. मैं अकेला ही चला था जाने बेमंजिल, मगर लोग साथ आते गए और कारवां बनता गया. That was our logo के नीचे वो जो line होती है, subtitle or whatever you call it. That was our thing. That was our tagline. For a very long time. Now
and it's also true in your case.
Yes.
Literally, that's what happened.
I started it alone, then my friends joined in. We had 14 participants in our Tughlakabad walk. After that, we did 3-4 more walks with Joydeep, who was our senior from college. After that, we planned a walk with Sohail Hashmi again for Red Fort, but then that's when this advisory came from the government that we have 3 COVID cases in Kerala. So we are closing down all the monuments. That's when we cancelled that walk, and we said, okay, we are taking a pause for a while. We'll be back with our walks again in 2 weeks. So that was the time.
Now we are in,
now we are 2
it's
years.
almost 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is back in 2020, around the March wala period.
Yeah, March 20. That's the journey of Karwaan offline. Then was our second phase, which was Karwaan online. और वो भी फ्रस्ट्रेशन में हमने शुरू किया, क्योंकि आप एक इतिहास के स्टूडेंट को घर पे ज़्यादा देर बैठा नहीं सकते. वो एक खुजली होती है अंदर कि हमें कहीं घूमने जाना है. तो मैंने अपने दोस्तों को कॉल लगाया जो कारवान के, देयर वर 7 मेंबर्स ऑफ कारवान एट दैट टाइम. आई कॉल्ड देम अप व्हाट्सएप पे कि यार अभी तो नहीं रहा जाएगा, ये 18 दिन बोल के दे आर इंक्रीजिंग द टाइम. एंड दैट्स व्हेन दे सेड कि अच्छा क्या करना चाहते हो. तो मैंने कहा कि आई नो सम फ्रेंड्स who might do an Instagram session with us. Let's do an Instagram session. Then at that time nobody started anything. किसी ने शुरू नहीं किया था with these sessions. So my team said कि चलो करते हैं. So that's when we invited Vikramjeet Singh Rooprai, Sohail Hashmi, Rana Safvi, Arsh Ali, and there was one other person that we invited, 5 people, and we started Karwaan Learning at Home series. On Instagram live. So that's how we started our online journey. We said कि 18 दिन का लॉकडाउन है, we'll do 5 sessions, one in 3 days, one in 4 days, ऐसा करके, and we'll complete this and we'll be back doing our walks. Little did we know that it would extend to 2 years. So we started with friends who accepted our invitation to be part of Karwaan's live sessions. Then I decided, along with my team, that we would do a lecture series called Karwaan History Festival, online history festival. That started, this whole online thing started on 4th April 2020. Same time JLF also went online. Same day, JLF, Jaipur Literature Festival, also went online. So we kind of started at the same time. But on history, we were the first who were doing sessions on history. Later, I don't know, I would like to believe that they got inspired from Karwaan, that many other organizations started doing online sessions, which is very nice and it made history accessible actually. Exactly. It made history accessible on your phone, on your TV, on your laptop, on any device that you want to watch or listen. Many people started podcasts. Yeah. So like this, people could just, use an earpiece and listen to the lecture. So it kind of started a digital revolution in history, which was much needed. Because now also most of the lectures, conferences across world are happening in a hybrid format. So people living in Delhi could listen to something going on in, say, San Francisco or New York. So that's the magic that COVID, I think, made it happen, or I would really credit COVID for that. It had all the bad things and everything was in a chaos, but there was a silver lining. And we used to do it, there was no Zoom at that time when we started. We started with Facebook Live, so it was a mess when we started our sessions.
So what were the sessions about? Like the first 5 sessions? The
first 5 sessions, Vikramjeet talked about the Baolis of Delhi, if I remember. And Rana Safvi Sahiba talked about the Firoz-shah Kotla story, the jinns, and her theme was Firoz-shah Kotla. Sohail Sahab talked about, if I remember correctly, something to do with Urdu language, the making of Urdu. Arsh Ali, who is India's youngest archaeologist, he talked about Egyptology and pyramids and something like that, which I don't remember at all. Manimukh Sharma, another friend who was part of the series, he talked about Akbar in modern times.
Yeah, I saw that.
So that was the kind of now we have 400. I don't remember all of them. I remember these 5 because this was the time when we were experimenting with the medium. We were trying to know how people are reacting to online things because we did not have a precedence to what we were doing. We didn't have an idea कि किसी ने और पहले किया है या नहीं किया है. So it was all new for
Just
everybody.
going with the flow.
Yeah. Even historians at first didn't know how to use this technology.
Like even using Zoom.
So we shifted when we started our history festival. We shifted from Instagram to Facebook to have a larger reach. And that time we used to share our ID passwords, Karwaan's Facebook ID password to historians. We used to ask them कि sir आप इससे login कर लीजिएगा at this time and start the live stream from your webcam. That was the concept, the system that we developed. It was very chaotic because most of our historians are very aged. They didn't know what Facebook is. So we had to tell them on phone कि sir आप इधर से ये करें वो करें, then you'll get to this place, just click on go live and you'll be live. तो ऐसा कई बार if you watch our previous sessions, first few sessions, you'll find out how tense the historian is. क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पर.
The guy can read like 3 books in a day, but
yeah, but technology,
and has written like more than 20-25 books.
And that's when we found out an application website called StreamYard.
Yeah.
Which was free access. You could use it, but there was a small duck logo that would come up on the screen. So that's how we started. Then came Zoom, which was paid. We didn't have money, but we kind of sourced it somehow, and we paid the Zoom thing and started Zoom sessions. That's the journey of Karwaan. Long journey.
And then you continued doing the online sessions.
But recently we started doing offline things also.
Yeah. So when did the walks then resume after that?
Very recently, actually, 5 months ago, I think, not earlier than that. Because we were waiting for the best time to restart. Things were very uncertain. There was new variants of COVID coming up every week. There's Omicron, kaun sa cron pata nahi. Hum to ginti bhi bhul gaye because we got COVID in the second wave. After that, we stopped taking interest in all the COVID news. It was so horrible. But now I think time has changed. People are very free. They do not worry about COVID. I think pollution is something that they should worry about now. COVID तो होता रहेगा, but pollution is something that
seasonal thing now.
हाँ, it's वो बुखार जो आता था जिसे पैरासीटामोल लेते थे हम.
I think we were talking about tour guides. What do you think about like the conventional tour guide?
मुझे बड़ा मजा आता है क्योंकि as I said, either you are you could be both, of course, but if you are a heritage walk leader, the main feature of it is a good storytelling format. These tour guides are the best storytellers you could find. If they could make you believe कि somebody like Anarkali, who could be 5 feet, 6 feet, not more than that, could sleep on a 100-meter long stretch. They are the magicians. I love them, and I pay to listen to their stories whenever I go to a monument. I even if I know about the monument, about the history of it, I go just for the stories.
The way they tell.
The way they did. They are so passionate about those stories. They think that their stories are their own things, their own imagination, but also historic in some senses. So they passionately tell you the stories. वो कहते हैं कि नहीं हम ही सही बताते हैं और तो कोई ये सब गलत बताते हैं.
किताबी कीड़े तो गलत बताते हैं.
हाँ, इन सबको कुछ नहीं पता. हमने देखा है, हमारे दादाजी थे यहाँ पर.
I remember I was in Malana near Kasol, and कोई तो ऐसे पुराना सा मंदिर था, and there was this tour guide जो पास में किसी को सुना रहा था. तो दैट्स अ वेरी इंडियन थिंग कि लाइक कोई और टूर गाइड लेता है तुम उनके पास में चलते रहते हो. तो वो सुना रहा था, एंड द गाय सेज कि भाई जी आपको पता है यहाँ पे बॉम्ब मारने आया था. बॉम्ब मारने आया था? तुझे कैसे पता बॉम्ब मारने को? बोले सही में आया था भाई. यहाँ ही पे बैठा रहता था. I believe you, man. Whatever you say.
वो पीपली लाइव अगर आपने
Yeah,
सुनी
yeah,
हो,
yeah.
कि ये आखिरी अवशेष है उनके.
But do you think like is it dying, the art of like being like a good tour guide? क्योंकि अब people don't, I don't know.
It's a profession that is, I think they are very underpaid, unfortunately, all these tour guides. So it's very unfortunate that the living standards they have, I think they should be paid more. Storytelling is a profession that should never die. We all are made up of stories.
Yeah. They can also be trained.
They yes, government does train them. They are ASI certified,
Yeah.
licensed guides. But I think that training should be more rigor. They should have more rigor and historical understanding than that they have right now. It should be more advanced, maybe. But they should never die. There should be guides.
Yeah.
There are us, the heritage walk leaders. But they should be guides as well.
They're still a part of the entire.
Yeah, and now there are I think I got to know about somebody. Sohail Saab mentioned that he's a tour guide in Agra. I don't remember his name. Otherwise, I can recommend him.
Yeah.
But he's somebody who has read more than any guide that you might find in Agra. He's a normal government licensed guide, but he has his own research involved while he speak. I think that's the kind of thing we want
Yeah.
in walk leaders and
Well-read guides.
in tour guides.
So we need to like reinvent the art of.
I think they should also start taking interest,
Yeah.
and government should.
That's how they can
increase the
charge
incentive.
more money.
They can,
Yeah.
yeah.
By being more engaged in the profession itself, like.
Yeah, which brings me to the next thing. I want to know about the business of history. Like, what's the business model? जो पूरा history as an industry, especially in India.
History is not an industry.
Yeah.
History is a academic discipline. Heritage and tourism is the industry. Tourism industry survives on these tour guides, foreign tourists. So in that foreign exchange or whatever you call it, currency exchange. And then they also depend on. So historians are no part of this industry. Historians get their salaries from various universities, which is not that much. So most of these historians are salaried. Authors have their own industry, that's writing industry. So if a historian is writing a book, they'll get their royalty, whatever royalty there is. Our industry is little different. We conduct walks, and generally in Delhi people charge 600 rupees per head for a walk. That's that's the usual average. We charge 350 rupees students and 500 for non-student category, and we pay 50% to the walk leader.
Okay.
And that's above the average. Sometimes we have different models for different cities actually. So there's nothing concrete about that, unfortunately, that I can tell you. But tourism industry as a whole is a big industry, as I said. Hotels is also part of hotel business is also part of this industry.
So I'm from Rajasthan, so वहाँ पे जो भी पुराने
All the
महल हैं,
heritage hotels, it's a big part. And all these royal families have started their own business chains, and they started gaining money that they lost while they came to India, or they joined Indian Union. So in the last 2 years, this industry kind of everything was lost. There was no business to walk leaders. There was no business for hotels because everyone was inside their home, or either quarantining at their place or in the hospital somewhere, but not on a heritage site, not in a hotel, not at a good restaurant that these heritage hotels have. So last 2 years were very difficult for all these people. Many of them ran out of business. There was no money that they could help sustain themselves. So I don't know how they survive because we are not part of that. Fortunately, we have kept ourselves very academic. Our only sustenance model is heritage walks that we do. We are not associated with any hotel, and we do not take trips as of now. We might start trips later, but yeah, that's what I could comment on the industry as is.
It's basically a tourism industry.
Tourism.
Yeah.
History is not an industry. History is a very, very what we can call it is, it's an expert's field. It's not for history is not everybody's cup of tea that we have right now on our table.
Yeah.
History is a specialized discipline, and only a historian trained to study the past could write about the past in that detail. Because as I was mentioning before the podcast of record that was, okay, it's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a very
whatever
big
you are writing could change the course of history. So it's a specialized course and a specialized discipline. Now people are democratizing it. Anybody is trying to write history without any credentials to them. I think that's the dangerous part, because somebody would read it, somebody would make up their mind and start abusing the historians who kind of studied it for last 25 years. And that's what happens with most of the historians. They get bashing from trolls and all these people on Twitter, on other platforms, on the basis of a writer who is an engineer by profession or economist by profession. That's what is happening with the history discipline, unfortunately, today. But not all is lost. There's still some hope that we have. We have many historians coming up writing so beautifully and much accessible, of course. क्योंकि हम हिस्ट्री से क्या समझते हैं कि बड़े कठिन शब्द इस्तेमाल करते हैं, इतना एकेडमिक बना देते हैं, पढ़ने का ही मन नहीं करता. Fortunately, in the last 3 years, I've seen so many new writers coming up. They are, if not historians, they are great history writers. You know, because as I said, I'm an old school kind of person who believes on degrees, and if you have a PhD in history, you are a historian, and so that kind of bad stuff, which is not the reality now. I've seen great writers writing about history who are not from history, but they have the essential quality feature of critically analyzing the source and spending time in the archives, you know. So it's changing very rapidly.
And then making that engaging while they're writing.
Yeah, their writing style should be
Any
different
books
from academicians.
that you recommend isme any authors that you like
So
specifically?
we'll recommend it
Yeah,
in the
अच्छा, वो सब बाद
last
में
segment.
आएंगे.
Let's keep it so that people would listen to us.
Yeah, और लंबा हाँ. कहीं जाइएगा मत दोस्तों.
कहीं जाइएगा मत.
So as you were saying, it like people need to be like well read, and you, like you said, you judge a good historian by their degrees and everything, right? So I want to talk about you and your DU experience and
Sure.
how it was in, you know,
Also
you
like
were
your
at the
growing
arts.
up years, like
No, also just
how
to
did you
point
get
out,
into like a history college?
Yeah.
How did you actually choose कि मेरे को history पढ़नी है आगे जाके?
Yeah,
that's a long story, but just to also mention that not just degrees, but I would judge a historian on their critical analysis.
Yeah.
If there's an argument in their book, you know, there should be a historical argument while they're writing. And, you know, peer review is also something that is very important in academia. Now it is losing its relevance, I don't know. But, yeah, but, so that's an old school approach. Now I love some writers who have nothing to do with history academically, but they're writing so much, and they've dedicated their lives to history after their, you know, गलतियां सबसे होती हैं पढ़ाई के समय पे, वो कुछ नहीं है.
Basically engineering.
Basically, yes.
Shots fired.
Yeah. So coming back to how I got into history and Delhi University and how I chose history. History was not my first option. I never wanted to study history when I was in school. Because we had terrible teachers. Good books, terrible teachers. NCERT अभी जो है वो मुझे नहीं पता. I have not studied NCERT after my 12th class. Fortunately, I passed in my first attempt. So I had, but I've heard the news that they are changing the syllabi and they're trying to modify the thing. We'll comment on it later. Maybe you'll have to wait till the end of the episode to listen to the controversial stuff. But in my 11th and 12th, I wanted to study political science and get into IAS, UPSC. That was my aim. And I had posters of all these IAS officers, their houses on my board in my room at that time. And a Satyamev Jayate colored printed in 30 rupees, framed in my room. I really wanted to. I thought I am a IAS officer. I am an officer now. So that was my mentality at that time. But I got about 89% in 12th, which was not that much. क्योंकि अब तो 99 भी आते हैं लोगों के, 100 भी आने लगे हैं 12th क्लास में. So I couldn't clear the cutoff, Delhi University's cutoff for history. No, for political
Were you
science.
going for a particular college in DU?
No, I wanted North Campus. Everybody wants North Campus. Nobody gets North Campus. Okay, only the best of the best gets. I'm not the best. I'm average or below average, because I don't know about cricket.
Yeah. So, I hear you.
So I couldn't clear the cutoff for political science in Delhi University. I had only one option, that was to get history in Shivaji College or Dayal Singh College. I went to Shivaji College. I didn't like the environment, though I have great friends in Shivaji College. I love Shivaji College now. At that time I said, nahi, idhar maza nahi aayega. I went to Dayal Singh and got myself enrolled in history. मैंने कहा चलो सह लेंगे, 3 साल की बात है, निकाल लेंगे समय. And then I'll join politics or whatever. ये मेरा सोचना था. Or I'll get into UPSC. क्योंकि history में unfortunate है कि half of the students who get enrolled in history want to be IAS officer, not historians or researchers. Because I think it's because of the status that
comes with
services hold in our society. Government job, you get नौकर चाकर गाड़ी बंगला, जो भी अमिताभ बच्चन ने दीवार में बोला था, सब कुछ आपको मिलता है. लेकिन I don't know what happened in first year. That's when I started Karwaan. I started enjoying reading history books, especially people like R.S. Sharma, Romela Thapar, all these people that I read. I didn't know about these people when I was in 11th, 12th. 11th, there was a news about Professor Thapar, JNU related news that I heard. So I had an idea about her, that she's a historian. I didn't know about what historian is, what they do. I thought they live in a different planet or something. So that's how I got into it. It was purely accidental. I'm an accidental history student because all my family members are scientists. They are into physics. I scored the least in science. I got, in class 10th, I got a B2 grade in, B plus grade in science, which was very bad.
Like 70 plus type?
No, 70 भी नहीं, 60.
60,
in somewhere in 60. 70 was B plus. Then you had 80 A and 90 A plus. So I was B, so 62. Just passing. Mathematics was C. So I had no option then to opt for humanities.
यही सीन हो जाता ना इंडिया में. वही है कि लाइक 10th में अगर ह्यूमैनिटीज लेनी है तो 10th में नंबर लाओ मत. गलती से भी तुम्हारे मैथ साइंस में आ गए तो तुम खुद ही साइंस ले लोगे. नॉट कि लाइक तुम्हारे पेरेंट्स का प्रेशर होगा. आई रिमेम्बर क्लियरली लाइक व्हेन आई वाज इन 10th तो आई वाज लाइक सुपर इंटरेस्टेड इन हिस्ट्री, क्योंकि कहानी है और साइंस में मैं मैथ्स की क्वेश्चन को सॉल्व करूँ. मैं आके लाइक ऐसे मैथ्स की बुक पढ़ी है और उसके पीछे यहाँ पे हिस्ट्री की बुक पढ़ के कोई तो रैंडम यूरोपियन समथिंग व्हिच हैपेंड इन हनोई ऐसे रैंडम बार पढ़े जा रहा हूँ. बट फिर पीयर प्रेशर होता है ना कि लाइक लेनी है तो लाइक मैंने खुद ही सोच लिया. पेरेंट्स ने भी नहीं बोला कि हाँ मैं तो साइंस ही लूंगा.
No, I never wanted to take science, and my family never forced me to take science. So I went my own way and kind of survived. अब तक survive कर रहे हैं, आगे भी कर लेंगे. So yeah, Delhi University's year was the best years of as of now. In 22 years, those were 3 years. 3 भी नहीं, one and a half year, क्योंकि then COVID came, and we were in our 5th semester, the starting of 5th semester when they closed down the university. So those were the best years, because in Delhi, what happens is you get a lot of exposure, all the book launches, all the networking that you could do, because academia is full of networks, and it's a beautiful space. But I think networking is a skill that everybody should acquire at some point of time, because it helps you professionally. You get to meet such interesting people, you get to know their stories. So I did that.
Even some of the famous historians, they live in Delhi.
In Delhi. Yeah, history is the center for Delhi. Delhi is the center for history. And our college was next to Lodhi Garden, Humayun's tomb, Safdarjung tomb, Connaught Place, Khan Market. Such a beautiful locality, such a beautiful neighborhood to kind of just be there.
Spend your college life.
Yeah.
Spend your college life. We had India Habitat Center on the left. In front of us was India International Center and Shashi Tharoor's residence. So such a beautiful space to be in. So I think I don't remember anything that was taught to me in bachelor's in classrooms. I have read the books, of course. I have passed the examination. I have a real degree to show, unlike many politicians. I have a real degree to show from Delhi University that I got last month. So yeah, those were the golden years when I read a lot, when I met a lot of people, and when I made a hell lot of friends from different areas, from northeast, from south of India, from Kashmir. I have friends from all corners of this great, great, beautiful nation that we have. Because sometimes what happens is when we live in these smaller cities like Kanpur in Lucknow, we do not have that exposure to people from northeast, from Kashmir, from Kerala. Delhi, because it's the center, everybody comes to Delhi University. You kind of meet people with different cultural backgrounds and you befriend them, you get to eat their food. I'm a big foodie, though vegetarian somehow.
Unfortunately.
But they do have great vegetarian options in all over India. So, and when you make friends, they live in hostels. I used to live with my father in Rohini, but my friend used to get me cutlets from their hostels. वो भी मजा आता था. अच्छा ज़माना था 3 साल पहले.
और क्लासरूम का कैसा एटमॉस्फेयर था? हिस्ट्री पढ़ना क्लासरूम में.
Great atmosphere. क्योंकि you debate, you discuss history. History is nothing without discussions and debates. History is full of debates. You start the first day in a history class is the Indus Valley civilization, or then you come to the Golden Age debate. Then there is a 18th century Dark Ages debate. Then you have the partition debate. Every period of history is a debate in some sense, and people have different opinions. Historians have different opinions on a particular given event, and when you are in a class, you have to understand that you are with 400 different mentalities, different ideas of history, different ideas of the past. You have a teacher who might have their own idea of history, so you kind of put forth your own idea, then see what the teacher has to add, what other fellow mates have to kind of give you in sense of knowledge on history. So you develop your own sense of history while you are in college, not just in Delhi University, in any university. And this should be promoted, this culture of public discourse on the past, because it's not the domain of just historians. History is a democratic, unfortunately, fortunately, it's a democratic discipline where everybody, kind of asserts their right. There's a book by Anirudh Deshpande called Professor Deshpande is Teaching in Delhi University. he has a book called The Practice of History in India, where he says, in India, everybody is a historian and everybody is a doctor in their own right.
So true.
So, you can't really remove history from the political ground or from people. So that's the best training ground, university campuses, where you debate, you discuss, you kind of come to a conclusion, or even if not a conclusion, you say कि चलो तुम भी ठीक मैं भी ठीक. There's no objective
बात खत्म हो
history.
गई.
Yeah. So because history is also an interesting field. Nothing is certain in history because you can't completely reconstruct the past. You do not have pictures, you do not have written documents that much. So reconstruction of the past depends on variety of sources. Interpretation of sources could differ, and they differ. You might have a different idea about, like, this napkin is an archaeological finding from Mohenjo-daro. I would say this was used for cleaning your mouth. You would say नहीं हाथ पोंछते थे इससे. अभी दोनों ही हो सकता है. हमने फोटो तो देखी नहीं किसी की हाथ पोंछते हुए या नाक पोंछते हुए. So we'll say ठीक है भाई, you have your own theory, I have my own theory, and these are theories that exist in history. And you kind of, a historian like Shooksha 500 years from now would say, historian Divyansh said this, historian
All this
said
is happening on Twitter, by the way.
Yeah.
A regular day on Twitter.
They said this and that. I would say किसी के लिए नहीं रखते थे, ये चौक साफ करने के लिए रखते थे. They'll have a different theory. I think that's the beauty of history. So many possibilities are there for a given thing in history. So those are my years in Delhi and so much more. I don't remember what I said.
And then, like, after you graduate,
Yeah.
आगे क्या avenues होता है? Like, do you, other than the UPSC route?
UPSC, I think, is not a career option after MA or BA history. It's recently added because I think there is an optional paper on history.
It's easy to score, I think people say.
Yeah. But if you are not studying books, how could you pass?
Yeah.
And you could read those books without being a history student. So what people do is, and I do not criticize anybody because my friends do it. So I am talking about my friends, not other UPSC aspirants who also are Karwaan viewers. So don't cancel us. But what people do is they kind of get enrolled in a bachelor's program and they attend their UPSC classes. They don't come to class. I mean, you could do that. It would cost
Was
you 8,000.
that the case in your batch also? Where like
No, they used to come. Abhi MA I don't know. But at that time they used to come, but they used to go to these coaching centers that there are. लेकिन मैंने सोचा कि if you want to do UPSC, you have enrolled in a coaching center. Why are you wasting your time doing a bachelor's? तो हमारे 8,000 भी बच जाते. But I think there's a minimum qualification bachelor's degree is required to appear. I think that makes them come to university. But it's good that they have certain degree of training in history that they might not use in the services, but at least they'll have an idea of history while they are governing a set thing. So I won't criticize. I have many friends who are doing UPSC in Ravi and Raja Ravi or whatever the coaching center is, Vision or
Vision.
I doubt their vision, but but whatever, they are teaching great things. I want to maybe appear in UPSC someday. Let's see.
So you still have that in
No, I don't want to get into.
Just for
experience.
Ah.
Something to write in the biography later. That I appeared in CSE but never cleared it. वो struggle की story लिखने में आसान होगा.
The struggles only make your TED talk interesting.
Yeah. I was born in a poor family. Moved to Delhi with no money but 10 rupees. Something like that.
School में boat में जाता था.
Yeah.
Something. Okay, so college is done. And you did connect with a lot of people in college years, right? You networked a lot. As you said, you had a lot of friends and professors that you were engaged with. So how do you bring these people that you networked with on Karwaan? And adding on to that, how do you network with new people in the
discipline? Yeah. How we approach speakers for our talk is the, what you say, top secret that we don't disclose, but we email them, and
Wow, that was quick.
that's the
Sir, please aa jao.
we email them.
Sir,
and
please.
they agree because they are scholars, and they appreciate if there's a scholarly platform where people could freely discuss history. Because what is happening is it's becoming difficult to talk about the past in public domains. Unfortunately, because of political reasons, because of other reasons, and there's a increase in the maybe interest in history, but another sort of history. People are going for historical films. देखने जा रहे हैं आजकल बहुत लोग
Historical films.
historical films. लेकिन वो किस तरह के इतिहास में लोगों की रुचि बढ़ रही है. I think they are more interested in myth than history.
Yeah, India में I think there's no distinction between like mythology and history.
Yeah.
अभी हमें समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है क्या है.
हाँ. So I don't know how they agree, but we kind of send them invitations. They accept our invitation. Of course, there's an intention, very academic intention, and very serious intent of doing something, because it's not a passion project. Karwaan is not a passion project. अगर passion होता 2 साल पहले खत्म हो जाता. If we are seriously pursuing something, I think academicians also appreciate that, and that's why they come on our platform, and not just our platform, other platforms also. We are
Have
not
you-
the thekedars of academic discourse. There are many other wonderful platforms that I admire. Those are doing great work. I love them and I give them all my best wishes. We collaborate also all the time. Yeah.
have you ever been rejected?
By historians, of course.
History of
I
love.
just before the podcast, I got an email. Sorry, Eshaan, I've retired. I don't have time to give a lecture. So we get that emails.
But then you kind of have to like roll with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes I also force historians कि अरे सर आ जाइए ऐसे कैसे. Whenever I meet them.
They also appreciate. I've seen your lectures, and even when these historians get a platform like this, they appreciate कि अरे इतना young बंदा कोई कर रहा है.
Age doesn't matter that much. The seriousness of intent. Is it just a random thing, or
That's
are
why they
doing,
associate with Karwaan.
Yeah. Are they doing something very seriously? Are they very serious about what they're doing? We are very serious about what we do. And the kind of people we invite. Because we know, if not now, this would have an impact 10 years from now, 20 years from now. People would listen to it someday. And I don't want somebody coming on my platform and saying anything about history. We need somebody academic who might give facts, who might give data to support their argument. Because history, it's a peculiar role that a historian plays, and a historian does not shape the past. Historian shapes the future. Because people are going to read whatever he has written, and she has written, or they have written, and then they are going to use it in future. So historians have a lot to do with the future than with the past. That's what I think. It might be wrong, but
No, this is happening. Like
Yeah.
This is
really.
genuinely happening.
yeah. So that's why I think it's important to have platforms like Karwaan, like other platforms, academic platforms, where you could have free conversation on the past, and you could develop a more historical approach to understand your own past.
Plus credibility also.
Credibility, of course, and that comes with academicians and who genuinely have studied a theme. आजकल क्या होता है? आजकल anybody reads 2-3 books and they write their own work. But what historians do is they kind of study the theme for like 20 years, 30 years, and then they write 2 or 3 books. So that's because you need great research to write anything. It can't just happen like this. You'll need time to kind of process, to research.
So एक हिस्टोरियन का बेसिकली जॉब होता क्या, लाइक वंस वन बिकम्स अ हिस्टोरियन देन आगे का प्रोसेस क्या होता है, लाइक जॉब क्या रहता है, व्हाट्स द जॉब प्रोफाइल ऑफ अ हिस्टोरियन?
They read, they research, they spend good amount of time in the archives and the museums studying primary sources, secondary sources. Primary mostly because historians' work it depends on the primary research that they do. Secondary research, of course, if primary sources are not available, then you'll have to depend on the secondary sources. So they kind of play with the sources, and it's an exciting job in that sense. But it's very boring because you get to spend a lot of time in the archives. I'm somebody who doesn't like to sit along for a very long time. So I don't know if I will be a good historian or not, but let's see. Time would tell. It's a very boring, job profile, but super exciting work. All these historians who spend n number of hours in archives, when they come out and they publish their work, that's, I think they write so well, and they open avenues for other researchers also. Because whenever somebody comes up with a book, if you read it, you will find कि अच्छा ये चीज़ miss हो गई शायद, and I might be able to fill that gap, and then you start your own research. Sometimes that happens, and that's how history progresses and it develops.
You also talk to a lot of filmmakers on Karwaan,
Yeah.
which is basically Karwaan ka section with cinematic history. And you have invited people like Saeed Akhtar Mirza. You've also spoken to Nasruddin Shah, a lot of these other actors, Sham Benegal. What do you think about that, like cinematic history?
See, what happens is whenever we think of history, we only think about kings, queens, dynasties, wars. But I am somebody who I can't remember dates of any war. If you ask me when third battle of Panipat happened, second battle happened, I don't have a clue as of now. Because I don't remember years. What we have come to accept is that history is full of dates. You just have to learn dates and you know entire history. क्योंकि हमारे एग्जामिनेशन पैटर्न ऐसे हैं,
स्कूल में भी यही होता था।
MCQs, you are supposed to learn the date.
Yeah.
कि 1947 में you got independence, 1857 was the first war of independence, mutiny, 1753, 1757, whatever, Plassey or the Buxar, and then you have battles Panipat or Haldi Ghati or whatever. Akbar was a Mughal emperor, there was Ashok, there was Maharana Pratap, there was this and that, and Chhatrapati Shivaji. But you don't know the context of them. You just know the dates. What I am interested is I'm interested in cinema. I love cinema because of my grandfather who got me interested in old films of Dilip Kumar, and plus I don't remember dates. That's a good thing for somebody like me. So that's a space where I can really write about how a film was made. And in a larger context of decades, 70s, 80s, 90s, these are the 30 years, 40 years which interests me a lot.
Especially when the NFDC movement happened. And
NFDC,
these filmmakers
50s.
got budgets to make
Yeah.
these films.
Yeah, and then the fall of the NFDC in the 90s after the opening up of the economy, when private players like Yash Raj and other, private producers came in. Earlier there was only one producer, NFDC, and there was another one called Blitz, who sponsored Shyam Benegal's films. But none other than them, and I think Shashi Kapoor was one of the first private producers who spent all his earning in parallel films.
He also started Prithvi Theatre.
He also started. उन्होंने सारे अपनी कमाई parallel में लगा दी और पूरा लुट गए. He went bankrupt. He lost every penny that he had just for supporting parallel cinema. But he never regretted that decision, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why I chose cinema history. It's so exciting.
Did you have like a subject in your college?
No,
कोई ऐसा
no.
कुछ भी नहीं था?
I was not interested in political history. I was not interested in economic history because economics, again, if you see my class 12th scorecard, I have 72 marks in economics and all other 4 subjects were 90 plus. So economics was
उसकी वजह से
72.
वो
92
का
is
मस्त
okay.
वाला कॉलेज नहीं मिला.
हाँ, economics is something that I run away from because it involves mathematics. Very bad at mathematics. I do very small calculations too on my calculator. If somebody asks me, कि 200 रुपये में से 45 मुझे दे दो कितना बचेगा, I have to calculate. That's how bad my mathematics
That's
is.
how the US kids function.
Yeah, I am a US kid in that sense. लेकिन I think something other than this mazak also resonated. It was the love for a medium that is full of expressing yourself. Art is a medium, cinema is a medium where you could express anything. You have all sorts of cinema. If you are angry, you see, a gangster film, or, Godfather or Inglourious Bastards, and you see the kind of anger in the film. Or Gangs of Wasipur in India.
In recent time.
In recent
You're really
times.
angry.
अभी जो आई थी, अभी भी नहीं, वो तो 13-14 years ago. My God,
I think
so long. 2008,
20 नहीं, Gangs of Wasseypur was 2012.
2012.
हाँ.
Really?
Yeah.
So 10 years.
10 years.
10 years ago. My God. And because this cinema was something that showed realism, so I'm more interested in this.
Yeah, even like when you see movies by like Saeed Akhtar Mirza, movies like Naseem, which are very contemporary उस time में जो हो रहा था, they documented it. And बहुत ही grounded film है. Like for me, I like a movie if the movie is grounded. तो मुझे लगे कि real लोग हैं उस time
That you
की
could
politics
connect
पे.
with.
Yeah.
और क्या होता है, कई फिल्में ऐसी हैं जो फैंटेसी से भरी होती हैं. करण जौहर काइंड ऑफ फिल्म्स, फुल ऑफ फैंटेसीज. हेलीकॉप्टर से आ रहा है वो लड़का शाहरुख, और जया इज स्टैंडिंग ऑन द डोर विद अ थाली. मैंने कहीं नहीं देखा ऐसा. शायद अंबानी के घर होता होगा, बट हमारे यहाँ तो नहीं होता. हमारे यहाँ तो हम घर आते हैं तो मम्मी पूछती भी नहीं है.
देर क्यों लगा दी.
हाँ, बस वही पूछती है, इतने लेट कहाँ हो गए. थाली लेके तो कभी नहीं खड़ी है. अब तक 22 साल में बात का पता नहीं, अभी तक तो नहीं हुआ. लेकिन सईद मिर्ज़ा का फिल्म, और इसमें एक और जो मसला है हिस्टोरिसिटी का. अभी हिस्टोरिकल फिल्म की बात अगर हम करें, व्हाट इज़ हिस्टोरिकल एंड व्हाट इज़ नॉट, एंड हाउ डू यू डिफाइन हिस्टोरिकल फिल्म्स. I would not define films which are based on history as historical because they are full of myths. I would define films of Saeed Akhtar Mirza as historical because they documented the India of 70s. And a historian or a researcher could see that film to understand how the time was, how people used to live. It's that real. So for me, films like those are historical and not films like Tanaji or Jodha Akbar. Jodha Akbar is a film that I love, but I don't like that film as a historical film. I like that film as a entertaining film. And I go to films not
It's
to
the
see
hero's journey, basically.
Yeah. I as a viewer, I do not go to see cinema to learn history. People do that also. That's very saddening. Unfortunate of them that they didn't get the opportunity to study in school. They bunked to play cricket instead.
Hey man, now it's getting personal.
Or football. But they are learning it on theatre. Okay, good for them. I go to entertain myself. If I am bored, मैंने किताब पढ़ ली है, अब घर पे बैठा हूँ, I go to a cinema house and watch पद्मावत और कौन कौन सी फिल्में आई थी हाल में. अभी तो it's the era of historical films.
Yeah.
And I go to entertain myself. I do not judge films on historicity now because I know that I can't. There's a very low bar. If that crosses, I stop judging it. I just watch it for. And some of these films are horrible also because they're not good films as entertaining pieces. They're really bad. They do not have good VFX. They do not have good storyline. They do not have good dialogues. My God, dialogues are horrible. So कुछ तो सही कर लो. At least फिल्म का क्राफ्ट सही कर लो, हिस्ट्री हम पे रहने दो.
हाँ, कैमरा एंगल तुम देख लो,
हाँ.
बाकी ठीक है.
बाकी देख
लगाया
लेंगे
लाइट
हम.
फाइट कुछ तो यार.
But you know, as you said, like people are rewriting and almost like making their own version of history just to serve like their contemporary purposes. जैसे movies में हो रहा है. What's the role of a historian ऐसे सिच में कि like can we actually solve this problem, या फिर कोई भी कुछ भी बोल के कुछ भी बना देगा future में, and we are supposed to believe that, or people will believe that in the future?
It's a question that we all are looking, the answer that we all are looking for. We are still very far from the answer to this question.
I think a film is like a historian should also become like a film critic now.
Yeah,
And like make like a proper critique on it.
What use would that be?
Yeah.
People are not going to listen to you.
Yeah, exactly.
If they like a film like Tanaji, you write के नहीं था ऐसा. उन्होंने
There'll be like
देख ली film.
500 people saying the same thing.
I don't know what purpose that would serve. People write it. I have written it for a film, a recent film. People have written about different films, but I don't know what purpose that would serve to. That would of course be appreciated in critical circles, in history circles.
वो लोग तो वैसे ही मान रहे हैं.
हाँ, अगर हम जनता के सामने देखें, आप अंग्रेजी में लिख रहे हैं, पहली बात तो आधी जनता पढ़ेगी नहीं. जो पढ़ेगी फिर वो आपको क्यों सीरियसली ले. आई थिंक it's a different space which it's very confusing. मुझे भी नहीं समझ आएगा कि कैसे उसको फ्रेम किया जाए. लेकिन एक हिस्टोरियन का रोल जो है, it's very important. Historian is an authority who could speak about the past, who could tell you कि नहीं, जो आप समझ रहे हैं वो इतिहास नहीं है, वो एक मिथ्या है, इतिहास ये है. And they have, I won't say that they are from a certain ideology or school. There are different types of historians, different historians of different schools. There are so many schools: nationalist, Marxist, subaltern, colonialist. So many schools. अभी एक और school आ गया है which I won't comment. Maybe off record I'll tell you. It relates to political regime but I think history is a public commodity. Historian should be the custodian of that commodity and should of course deliver to the public because it's a public thing, but be very careful of what they are serving to the public. So it's a very crucial role, and as I said, they do not have much to do with the past but with the future and the present. और हिस्ट्री क्योंकि पॉलिटिक्स से भी बहुत जुड़ी हुई है, सो इट्स अ स्लिपरी स्लोप, एंड हिस्टोरियंस को बहुत वो गम बूट पहनने पड़ेंगे कि फिसले नहीं.
आई थिंक यहाँ पे फिल्म मेकर का भी एक रोल आ जाता है कि लाइक फिल्म मेकर भी अगर बना रहा है तो उसको भी
दे आर कंसर्न विद इकोनॉमिक्स, विद कॉमर्स दैट फिल्म वुड जनरेट, एंड दे आर शोइंग व्हाट माइट रेजोनेट विद मिलियंस ऑफ पीपल according to the political wind of course in the country
of the time. Or it's not unique to this nation, and I think India is very fortunate that it's not at that level. It's of course rising, unfortunately. But see Germany, what Hitler did, they made propaganda films when they were in power in 30s, 40s. They made so many films on that. USSR, when it was at its peak, made propaganda films. America makes lots of war films which are propaganda films.
Yeah.
So cinema as a medium is very as a propaganda medium is very old. It's not new. History as a political medium is very old. You know, there were court historians in medieval India, in ancient India. Ruler would ask them to prashasti likho ya write a eulogy for me, or court history में मेरे बारे में. There were instances like this जहाँ पे court historians were ordered to write court histories.
Yeah, like all that Akbarnama and everything, right?
So it's not new. History has been used as a political tool for so long. but historians have the responsibility to have a spine in times where spineless people are roaming around or ruling different parts of the world. Historians should have a spine, and there are people who kind of do not cooperate with the regime. They stand alone, even if they are the lone fighters. I'm very happy with whatever happening is in Iran.
Yeah.
In a state like that, and they are not historians. They're nobody. They are subalterns. They're women of Iran who are protesting against hijab,
Yeah.
and it's so
You
empowering.
also wrote about this in that article in the She.
So yeah, it's so empowering. So we need people like them, not just historians. It becomes the responsibility of every individual. Historian कितना ही करेगा? It becomes the responsibility of every individual to safeguard the dignity of history, and even if mythology. So that should happen.
पर्सनली तेरे को लाइक यू हैव रेड इतना हिस्ट्री, हमसे तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा पढ़ा है, तेरे को ऐसा कौन सा पर्टिकुलर इवेंट है दैट यू आर फैसिनेटेड अबाउट?
मेरे को पर्सनली 1857 बहुत पसंद है क्योंकि आई वॉज बॉर्न इन मेरठ, grew up in Kanpur, studied in Delhi, 3 major centers of the revolt. So it's a past that revolves around me all the time. So 1857 is something that I really like reading about. Another is partition of India or British India and the birth of India and Pakistan, 2 sovereign nations. तो ये मुझे बड़ा एक्साइटिंग लगता है क्योंकि एवरी ईयर देयर इज अ बुक ऑन पार्टीशन. इट टॉक्स अबाउट द लिव्ड हिस्ट्रीज ऑफ पीपल हु सर्वाइव्ड व्हाट यू वांट टू कॉल इट, अ होलोकॉस्ट मे बी इन इंडिया, वेयर लैक्स ऑफ मिलियंस ऑफ पीपल डाइड, they were raped and killed and butchered and whatever. So I think those are 2 events that really shaped the fate of India in some senses, the fate of this country, this landmass, and are very exciting because every year there's a new research on these themes.
कुछ ऐसा इंटरेस्टिंग तूने पढ़ा उस टाइम का जो अभी नहीं पता है हमें?
Apart from Mr. Gandhi, we call Bapu, Mahatma, apart from him, there were so many people that played really great role. Of course, Gandhi ji is the symbol of non-violence, but when you read about say the jail diary of Bhagat Singh, which is edited by Chaman Lal, a great scholar on Bhagat Singh, you get to know about that young man of 23, about my age, I'm 22, about my age, who just gave his life for for freedom of India, in the sense that he was a true freedom fighter in that sense. Though he was a Gandhi follower.
He has his differences with Gandhi also.
Gandhi.
Yeah.
But then there is a myth that Gandhi did not save Bhagat Singh, did not save the partition of India. Gandhi did not have that power, I believe. I asked this question to Ram Guha on Karwaan, that there are myths that Gandhi did not save Bhagat Singh, Gandhi did not save India from partition. He said Gandhi did not have that much political authority to speak on the matter, and he tried his best, but he couldn't do that. So I think that's the interesting parts of those histories. I don't know, I can't remember a fact that you might not know, because I don't know how much you know, how much you know about.
Bhagat Singh is a very controversial figure. Like everyone looks up to Bhagat Singh, but like not much.
They
don't know much
appropriate
about. Yeah.
all the political parties are trying to appropriate Bhagat Singh in their political posters, but nobody is trying to understand his ideology. People say he was a communist, and you have a book, a Communist Manifesto, I think, in his pocket while he was in jail. So he was atheist, and he wrote an article called "Why Am I Atheist?" And a party which is formed on some religious ideology, religious belief, is trying to appropriate Bhagat Singh. It's very ironic because Bhagat Singh stood against religion in that sense. So you get to know a lot. You get a lot of idea about the present also when you read these people. When you read people like, say, Mahatma Gandhi for that matter, or Jawaharlal Nehru's discovery of India, who was not a trained historian, but his book Discovery of India talks so much about civilization, of maybe the greatness of India, or some, if you want to call it. And then these people don't read them, and they kind of bash Nehru to death. Already a dead man is, they kill him every day. So that's how exciting history is actually for me.
So, when you're talking about these stories, are there, and you also spoke about myths as well. So, are there any specific myths that like really irritate you?
Which are like floating around, very popular myths
Yeah.
in the culture which are floating around.
I get a lot of WhatsApp texts from WhatsApp University, and some of them are very funny. Some say कि इंडिया के नेशनल एंथम को यूएन ने बेस्ट नेशनल एंथम डिक्लेयर किया है, नेशनल फ्लैग को बेस्ट फ्लैग डिक्लेयर किया है.
एक वो हर साल एक दिवाली पे भी फोटो आ जाती है,
हर साल. हाँ,
इंडियन मैप,
सैटेलाइट
वाली
कि ये
दिवाली पे
दिवाली के दिन इतना
दिए से ऐसा कर दिया इंडिया ने. It's good to believe that in some sense, just in a funny way. But अगर आप उसको seriously, there is something very bad with your mental age or maturity. You must get tested. लेकिन a historical myth that I really find interesting is कि शाहजहां ने ताजमहल बनाने के बाद सारे मजदूरों के हाथ काट दिए.
That was a myth?
Yeah, that's a myth.
My childhood was
that's a myth. क्योंकि those same laborers made that fort maybe, and उसका जो maintenance था वो भी कौन करेगा, and labor was very limited. तो अगर आप सारे लेबर्स के हाथ काट देंगे, कहीं कुछ होगा तो कौन काम करेगा?
हाँ, वो भी स्किल्ड लेबर, उन्होंने अभी लिटरली प्रूव करा है.
स्किल्ड लेबर. एंड एवा कॉख, very famous Mughal historian, has written about it in her book called The Complete Taj Mahal. So, it's a myth that Shahjahan ne haath nahi katwaye bhai.
There's also another thing ki there's supposed to be a black Taj Mahal right across the original Taj Mahal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how factually, like, kitna true
It's not a
hai
Taj Mahal.
factually.
It's of course I think it's a Portuguese grave. I don't know, it's Portuguese or some European officer's wife's grave or officer's grave. In Khusro Bagh, which is opposite. Khusro Bagh is the name. I don't remember. But yeah, there is. Look at it. There's a red Taj Mahal. There's this Taj Mahal. एक बीबी का मकबरा कहीं पर है. That's also Taj Mahal. सब ताज महल है, अलग अलग कलर के.
Gay Taj Mahal in Delhi.
Yeah.
Which I got to know from you.
Yeah.
Told to you by a friend of mine. So I don't know how true those are, but ताजमहल एक ही है जो आगरा में है.
Let's settle it for once.
Which is also UNESCO World Heritage Site, one of the what you call the 7 wonders of the modern world.
Yeah.
Continues to be, which is of course, which might become black after the pollution level. It's getting darker day by day, so you might not have that Khusro Bagh wala, you will call it the Black Taj Mahal after 10 years from now. That's the reality, and people don't understand that. अभी जो इंडिया के फेमस हिस्टोरिक लाइक मॉन्यूमेंट्स हैं, उनकी कंडीशन कैसा है? लाइक डज द गवर्नमेंट हैव इनफ फंड्स टू लाइक preserve them?
Yeah, they are doing their own bit. I won't criticize the government at every point. They do some good work. They do something that should be criticized, of course, as somebody who have elected the government, who have, we voted in 2019. Usse pehle to I was not 18 plus. But we have the right to, of course, criticize. But when it comes to monuments, some of the monuments which are ASI protected are in good shape. Not good, but okay shape. But not all monuments are covered by ASI. Some are under state, some are under private thing. They don't really care about that. You have good maintenance in bigger cities like Delhi in this. But if you come to Kanpur or Badaयूं और कहीं पे छोटे छोटे शहरों में, the state of heritage sites is very disappointing. और कई जगह पर क्या हुआ है कि लोगों ने अपने घर बना लिए हैं, तो उसे तोड़कर उन्होंने, जैसे आप हौस खास जाएं, हौस खास में दे स्टार्टेड देयर क्लब्स एंड शॉप्स अराउंड दैट हौस खास. हाँ, तो दैट्स आई थिंक दैट्स अगेंस्ट द लॉ, क्योंकि आई थिंक देयर इज अ लॉ दैट 40 meters के अराउंड यू कैंट बिल्ड एनीथिंग एंड समथिंग लाइक दैट. रख रखाव में थोड़ा और काम करना पड़ेगा. देयर आर प्राइवेट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस लाइक आगा खान फाउंडेशन जो कि इस्लामिक स्ट्रक्चर्स को प्रिजर्व करते हैं. देयर आर पीपल लाइक इंटैक who do conservation work across India. Abhi what the government has done is they have privatized a lot of monuments in Delhi, and I think Adopt a Monument नाम का scheme है उनका. तो Dalmias have acquired Qutub Minar and Red Fort, and they have done their own good and bad with the monument.
I think there was some event also which happened on Red Fort.
Yeah, भारत का कुछ तो था वो
महोत्सव.
महोत्सव, some
75वां.
So, what I think is problematic is when they start redesigning the monument. What they did with Jallianwala Bagh. They have completely redesigned a monument which was a site for, remembering the horror and sacrifice, horror that many felt on Baisakhi Day in 1919 it was, I think, Jallianwala Bagh tragedy. So they have made it in like a amusement park. It's not a place to feel overjoyed, overwhelmed by such jhulas and all party lights. It's a monument where you come and you feel the pain or the pain that was felt by millions who fought for our freedom. So that is where problem arises, not the maintenance of the monument. They are doing it just fine.
There's also this huge talk about vandalism and how some random couples go and just S
Even
plus
in Delhi.
A heart. So how can we prevent that from happening?
Ritu loves Manoj.
Yeah.
I think the only way to prevent that, fortunately I didn't have a girlfriend जिसके साथ मैं जाके वो लिखता, तो मैंने बचा लिया. लेकिन
You have done your part.
I have done my part. The best way to prevent is to make people aware. It is their heritage. It should not be like this is my heritage, this is their heritage. It's our heritage. जब वो अपना एक आप रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी लेंगे, इफ़ यू थिंक के ये हमारा है, when there would be a sense of ownership attached to your monument, I think that's when people would realize कि नहीं, अपने घर को कोई गंदा नहीं करता. तो they would, I think then अवेयरनेस की हमें ज़रूरत है. हेरिटेज अवेयरनेस होनी चाहिए लोगों में, और विजिलेंस से कुछ काम नहीं होगा कि आप उन पे नज़र रखें, उससे कुछ नहीं होगा. लेकिन you give them avenues.
And I guess heritage walks sort of do contribute in that sense to like make people aware about this entire
because if they know about the context उस चीज का,
they wouldn't want to ruin it any further, right?
Yes.
उनको पता ही नहीं ना कि यहाँ पे आके मैं करूँ क्या.
ठीक है. Signature mark
आर्ट प्रैक्टिस कर लेता हूँ.
And they've started pre-wedding shoots in Lodi Garden, which is a tomb where a dead person is lying peacefully. And now you are walking over it and making your own video. We were taking a group to Lodi Garden, and in one of the tombs we wanted to go inside. और कैमरामैन ने कहा नहीं, अभी रुकिए, वीडियो चल रहा है अंदर. So that's how what's happening today with these monuments.
Okay,
Let's talk about ghost stories.
Yes.
Let's make it Beer Biceps ka podcast.
Yes. I'm all in. So, what's the deal with Firoz-shah Kotla? Is it really haunted? And what's the history behind it?
Firoz-shah Kotla is supposed to be haunted. I got to know that in 2018. It is believed. It was believed actually. और अनस जो हमारे दोस्त हैं, he talks a lot about ghosts and jinns. He has great stories, a wonderful storyteller. I am not. I do not believe in anything because as a historian you kind of develop. No, I'm not a historian. I'm a history student, but part of training involves questioning things. And Anas also questions it, and all these people, our heritage walk leaders, ऐसा कहते हैं कि एक ज़माने में वहाँ जिन रहते थे. And that's when that you also have William Dalrymple's first book, City of Jinns.
Yeah.
First or second book, first on Delhi. So it was called the City of Jinns क्योंकि वहाँ जिन रहते थे और कई सालों तक वहाँ पर लोग जो भी वो प्रेयर ऑफर करने आते थे. तो अभी तो नहीं आते शायद. अभी तो इतना बुरे हालात हैं, जिन भी छोड़ के भाग गए होंगे. इतनी जगह की कमी है. They would have left अगर रहते होंगे तो. I don't believe in such thing, but who believe, क्योंकि this all depends on your belief.
Yeah.
अगर आप मानते हैं तो है, नहीं मानते तो नहीं है. So I don't know about these jinns, but of course the story is very fascinating कि वहाँ जिन थे और अच्छे जिन होते हैं, बुरे जिन होते हैं. जैसे अच्छे भूत होते हैं, बुरे भूत होते हैं, ऐसा हमारे हिंदू कल्चर में, मुस्लिम कल्चर में, अलग रिलीजन में है. आई थिंक क्रिश्चियंस ऑल्सो बिलीव इन घोस्ट्स एंड अदर थिंग्स. और दिस कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ विच डेवलप्ड लेटर, विच hunting and which it's very derogatory, very regressive, that developed in medieval worlds.
Yeah.
And that was a tool to kind of suppress women and other people जिन्हें वो चुड़ैल बोलते थे, विच बोलते थे,
उसके पाँव उल्टे होते हैं.
That was a very derogatory thing that developed, and it has its own history, witchcraft and पता नहीं क्या क्या है. मैं तो विच सिर्फ हैरी पॉटर से जानता हूँ. That's my only wizardry और वो सब क्या है. There was also a show in on Disney, Wizards of Waverly Place.
Yeah.
That singer Selena Gomez, was it?
Yeah.
That I remember that show. I used to watch it. So that was, I think, probably my first introduction to this whole concept of wizards and ghosts and whatever. But अभी वो haunted नहीं है. एक और ऐसे ही एक और दिल्ली में, क्योंकि Delhi is a city which has so many monuments.
Yeah.
So many monuments which are not in public eye also. They are in some jungle. कोई रिच पर है, कहीं है. तो जब कोई जंगल में चीज़ होती है, आपको ऐसे थोड़ा सा डर लगता है कि जाना चाहिए, नहीं जाना चाहिए, रात में जाना चाहिए, नहीं जाना चाहिए. सेफ्टी कम्स फर्स्ट. तो कई सारे मॉन्यूमेंट्स जो अंदर होते थे, शायद उसके लिए उन्होंने स्टोरीज डेवलप कर ली हो कि यहाँ नहीं जाओ. जैसे वो होता था ना कि सो जाओ वरना गब्बर सिंह आ जाएगा जैसे.
Yeah.
तो एक मलचा महल जगह है. आई हैव हर्ड ग्रेट स्टोरीज अबाउट इट. इट वाज अ हंटिंग लॉज. But
especially that Rani who was apparently faking it.
अवध की आखिरी राजकुमारी. It's a fake story, I think.
फिर वो न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स के एक जर्नलिस्ट ने उसको डिबंक करा बाद में. He was also friends with
Indira Gandhi and yeah. But उनके बाद वो they died in that same place. The whole family died there. But उसके बाद I think घोस्ट स्टोरीज स्टार्टेड एमर्जिंग के वहाँ पे कोई दिखता है.
और लाइक टिपिकल इंडिया टीवी और इन सब ने भी कवर करा.
हाँ, इंडिया टीवी पे कुछ आता था एक शो, मुझे याद नहीं, अविश्वसनीय, अकल्पनीय कुछ समथिंग, where they used to do these horror investigations. बड़ा मजा आता था.
Even I think there was this Netflix series called Ghul, and for promoting Ghul, Radhika Apte and this one more guy, तो वो आए थे मलचा महल to find like that ghost meter से.
See, there are energies, of course, as I know, good bad energies, vibes जिसे हम कहते हैं आज के ज़माने में, negative vibe, positive vibe. I think that could be something. Calling it ghost या आत्मा या whatever you want to call it, I don't know. And for that there are experts way better than me who can speak about that theme. So क्योंकि मुझे खुद डर लगता है. I don't believe in them, but I am very afraid of darkness and whatever you want to call it.
What other places are claimed to be haunted?
In Delhi?
Delhi, yeah.
Delhi, I've heard about civil lines.
Civil lines?
Yeah.
Why?
Near this Vidhan Sabha.
Yeah. Why?
I don't know because
haunted.
yeah.
जहाँ पे मजनू का टीला है
हाँ हाँ
हाँ उसका जो दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी का साइड है सिविल लाइंस का आई थिंक दैट इज सपोज टू बी हॉन्टेड आई हैव एज हर्ड फ्रॉम पीपल क्योंकि वो एक तो सुनसान एरिया है तो रात में लोगों को डर लगता होगा. इसके अलावा देयर सम सेक्टर 32 सेक्टर 62 समथिंग सम सेक्टर near Noida which is supposed to be haunted. I don't remember the...
Is that a historical place?
No, it's not a historical place.
Even I think William Dalrymple in his book says कि we are currently living in like the 7th or 8th version of Delhi. Like
Yeah.
Delhi 7 बार बर्बाद होके वापस.
हाँ ये कहा जाता है. कई लोग 7 बोलते हैं, कई 14 बोलते हैं, 15 बोलते हैं. अलग अलग नंबरिंग सिस्टम है. लेकिन as per many there were only 2 Delhis. One was to Mehrauli, which was the first Delhi. Mehrauli जहाँ कुतुब मीनार है. Second was शाहजहानाबाद जहाँ रेड फोर्ट है. These were the only 2 cities that existed in history. बाकी जो थे तुगलकाबाद, चिराग दिल्ली और अलग अलग जगह, सीरी, ये सब they couldn't develop as a city क्योंकि वो इतने जल्दी गिरे फिर बने. So they didn't have the time to develop as a city. क्योंकि सिटी के कुछ कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स होते हैं. सिटी एज अ मार्केट, एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस, रेसिडेंशियल एरियाज, मे बी सम एरियाज ऑफ वर्शिप. In many of these cities or supposedly cities, you won't find those things, and they take time to develop. So only in Shahjahanabad that you have Chandni Chowk. In Mehrauli you have Mehrauli का जो भी village and other places. So in some senses there were only 2 Delhis, and New Delhi is not a city because there's no residents in New Delhi. People live outside that Latian zone. Only people who are government servants on some उसे क्या कहते deputation, कुछ साल के लिए वो आते हैं रहने नई दिल्ली में, एंड देन दे शिफ्ट टू शाहदरा और गुड़गांव और पीतमपुरा, डिफरेंट एरियाज ऑफ दिल्ली. सो इन दैट सेंस देयर इज नो मार्केट. देयर इज नो market in New Delhi. There's Khan Market, which is not a market. Market, I meant a bigger market like Azadpur Mandi or other mandis. So I think that's how you define. So हाँ 7 बार बिगड़ी बनी और बनती रहेगी. ये आई थिंक दैट्स द प्रोसेस ऑफ हिस्ट्री. ये थिंग्स जैसे अलग अलग शहर, हर शहर का ऐसा ही है, कई बार उजड़े कई बार बने. But R.V. Smith was somebody who wrote a lot on Delhi's history and heritage. So I would recommend you to read, R.V. Smith's great collection of books. I think there are 10-15 books by R.V. Smith. You must read all of them.
There's also this another concept of white people writing about India. And that entire debate of, they're like not really understanding our culture. To what extent can you rely on those documentations?
I don't know. I know a lot of foreigners writing about India, and they write really well. It depends on the training. Age, color, caste, creed, language barrier, nothing matters if you are trained as a historian.
Yeah.
If you know the language, and language is something that you can learn. It requires training, but you could master a language in few years. And there are historians who write on India, of course, people like William, Dalrymple, A.L. Basham. A.L. Basham is somebody every UPSC aspirant reads. The Wonder That Was India is a book that everybody reads. And he has written about classical Hinduism and cultural history of India. So much. He was Romila Thapar's PhD advisor, doctoral advisor. So I don't have any problem with white people writing history until unless they have those traits of a historian that I have mentioned twice or thrice in this podcast, which is critical analysis of sources, knowledge of language, and yeah, spending times in archives in India. Fortunately, unfortunately, most of our sources are in British museums and British libraries.
Yeah.
All these, colonialism looted India, and वो चोर बाजार उन्होंने बना दिया, as
Yeah,
Shashi
yeah.
Tharoor puts it.
I remember when the queen died.
Yeah.
There were so
Oh
many
my
memes.
God. Yeah, so
Especially
many.
after the new guy, the Indian origin guy, Rishi. Yeah. When he
So
was-
much was made when Elizabeth died.
Yeah.
I refuse to call her the queen. She's not my queen. She was a colonialist
Yeah.
who destroyed Africa, who destroyed India, who destroyed many other colonies.
Mm.
But I don't know. All those things that they looted are in British Museum. So when she died, people started saying कि अब तो कोहिनूर वापस आ
हाँ,
जाएगा.
yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
But Kohinoor was, I think, if I'm not wrong, was a gift from India too. And that's what the government also says. So they can't really take back.
But is it true?
I don't know. I've not read enough to comment on that. But I hope it's not true. But what would we do with that diamond? We would put it in the National Museum.
Yeah.
Okay. I would love to see Kohinoor, of course, one day in India, if that supports the GDP and the declining economic status of
सबके
India.
बैंक में अगर 15 लाख आ गए.
अगर आ गए तो I would love to have Kohinoor.
Okay, so I have a really stupid question. Why can't we get all that stuff back? Like,
Where would you put it? Where would you put it? One thing, I was having this conversation with somebody. So one of the reasons that they gave me was, in foreign museums, people keep their artifacts, they preserve it so well in light controlled, temperature controlled rooms. So there is good preservation that is available there. In India, what is happening, our museums are full, and they are closing down national museums and other museums and shifting to different places. And then they think that all those lacks of artifacts that are very well conserved and preserved in British Museum and other museums should be returned to India. लेकिन हम रखेंगे कि आपने घर पे ट्रॉफी बना के तो रख नहीं सकते, because they require proper lighting, proper temperature, proper conditions to preserve them. So I think जहाँ पर वो है, if the place is accessible to you, it's fine, keep it there. And if India develops that kind of infrastructure, that kind of museum, then please give it back. We'll keep our thing to ourselves. But unless that is happening, please keep it and keep it safe. That's what I think. And I would love to have them back. I'm not saying I don't want them. I really want them, because it would make us easy to access. And हमें वो 1 लाख रुपए खर्च करके अब ब्रिटेन नहीं जाना पड़ेगा to study that. We could study that in our national museum.
वहाँ पे भी आई थिंक उसका एक कॉपी ही रखा है, उसका कुछ तो वो रखा है.
So म्यूजियम में डिस्प्ले के लिए तो आई थिंक रेप्लिकास होते
रखे
होंगे. And there's an archives downstairs in every museum, I think, where they keep the actual thing. वरना वो जो म्यूजियम द लूव्र में हुआ अभी थोड़े दिन पहले, somebody threw a paint box or something on Van Gogh's thing. And the other, to stop that oil movement or whatever, which I think was very stupid. I support the cause, I support climate change, I support everything, but that's a piece of art. It's a masterpiece by Van Gogh, the great Van Gogh maybe. So fortunately that was under a glass cage and that was a replica, I believe. Same with that Mona Lisa thing that happened. Somebody threw something on Mona Lisa also. Weird way of protesting.
I think people have also tried stealing the masterpieces.
इंडिया में अगर आ जाएंगे सामान, कैटलॉग नहीं होंगे तो सच में ही बिक जाएंगे.
बंटी और बबली में नहीं था,
बंटी और बबली. So it depends कि हम किस तरह का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलप करेंगे हमारे देश में. अगर हो गया,
I believe अदानी कुछ तो होगा.
No, these people are really interested into museum making.
हाँ.
And fortunately, unfortunately, they're making a lot of museums.
Even Adani.
Yeah, they Piramal has an art museum, art gallery in Bombay. Shiv Nadar's family, HCL, have a Kiran Nadar museum. So, but yeah, I hope there are more and they would get these back.
Well, you need like patrons of art.
Patron of art.
मैंने लास्ट हिस्ट्री पढ़ी थी 10th क्लास में.
Hmm.
It ended with I think the European Revolution, I'm not sure, or something which happened in Vietnam. और वो ऐसा था कि भाई रटना है, ख़त्म करना है, बोर्ड्स आ रहे हैं, ख़त्म हो गया. अब उसके बाद मुझे आइडिया नहीं है कि क्या हुआ लाइक एटलीस्ट academic history में. Plus there are no resources to actually like learn about it क्योंकि अब मैंने engineering कर ली like most Indians do. And फिर then I graduate, then I join maybe a corporate job and वहाँ पे जा रहा हूँ and I am busy with my life. और मेरी life में इतना कुछ हो रहा है. But I really don't have like that. And like most people, usually people hate reading books now. They're not into books anymore. क्योंकि as you said कि history पढ़ने में you need to read multiple sources, सब का पढ़ो and then form your opinion. But अनफॉर्चुनेटली एक आम इंडियन के पास वो वक्त नहीं है क्योंकि पहली बात तो प्रिविलेज नहीं है, पैसा कमाना है, जल्दी कमाना है, अभी कमाना है. बट हाउ डू यू मेक इट लाइक ऑब्वियसली कारवा इनिशिएटिव्स लाइक कारवा रियली हेल्प, बट हाउ डू वी व्हाट्स योर प्लान टू मेक लाइक हिस्ट्री एक्सेसिबल टू इंडियंस एंड कितना हिस्ट्री है जो हमें पता होना चाहिए लाइक 101 ऑफ हिस्ट्री, लाइक ये तो हर सिटीजन को पता होना चाहिए.
हर सिटीज़न को ये पता होना चाहिए कि भारत को आज़ादी लीज़ पर नहीं मिली थी. आज़ाद ही देश है हमारा, हम लीज़ पर नहीं. किसी ने सम पॉलिटिशियन मेड अ कमेंट कि 99 साल की लीज़ पर इंडिया आज़ाद हुआ था. आई डोंट नो, लेकिन दे शुड नो अबाउट आवर फ्रीडम फाइटर्स लाइक गांधी, नेहरू, पटेल, मौलाना आज़ाद, सरोजिनी नायडू, Kasturba Gandhi. People don't know about, and even Sardar Patel's wife or Nehru's wife and sister and daughter Indira, and they should know about that Mughals were not invaders, and Babur could be called a foreigner because he was not born in India. But after Babur and even Humayun, if you want to call it, Akbar onwards, every Mughal emperor was born in India. They never sent out money to other countries. Whatever they gained from India, they spent everything in India on Indian people. So, we call them enemies or foreigner invaders. Please don't call them. Study them. Another thing they should know is maybe to differentiate between myth and history. And I won't call the epics whatever they want to call it. I won't comment on it. But see the historicity in it. Read good books. You asked me that people don't have time. That's very true. And for that, I think all these channels, platforms, or whatever we are creating, we have to make it accessible to the public, as in WhatsApp, through WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a big medium from where they learn history. All these WhatsApp messages and all.
Really a bad way.
Yeah. No, so we have to adapt to that.
Yeah, eventually
way.
you'll have to.
We'll have to get to that.
Bite-sized content.
If we want to really make people understand, we have to get to their level.
Make it engaging.
And then bring them up together with us to a certain level of historical consciousness, of understanding what history really is. And they should understand that past might not be all glorious. There might be events that might make you feel very happy about the greatness of rulers, their military might and whatever. But there might be events, people, personalities, chronologically periods which might not be glorious at all. like the British India, where people face a lot of trouble and all, and they should accept it, even if they are reading about, say, quote unquote Hindu rule or whatever they want to call it. There could be bad things about that too. If they are reading about Mughals, there could be bad things about that too. It's not. There was a quote on WhatsApp or Twitter. I think WhatsApp पे तो नहीं expect कर सकते, Twitter पे ही था शायद, कि if you are reading something that make you feel proud, it's not history. History won't make you feel proud of your past. History might make you question what you think about your past. So I think that's the basic thing that they should understand while reading books. Because now a lot of people are writing history books. They're calling it history books. But people like us who are not trained as historians, many people like who go to corporate jobs and read books,
And maybe even write books.
maybe write books and get good money.
Yeah.
They should understand how difficult this discipline is to master or to write about or to understand. It is based on, and it's time consuming, of course. It is based on different sources, different interpretations and explanations. You'll have to devote time. And WhatsApp, क्योंकि इसीलिए WhatsApp इतना फेमस है कि समय नहीं है, you get everything you need on just one click or something. और breaking news जैसा system हो गया है. So I think we have to save ourselves from that.
WhatsApp University.
WhatsApp University. Or we have to get into that, provide them with authentic things in those format that they like, which is very difficult. We can't do it alone. All these organizations working should start doing that. All academicians working should do that. And maybe in a few years' time, we'll have a better sense of history prevailing in India, where myths are seen as myths, epics are seen as epics, history is seen as history. And you might agree or disagree with the past, that's up to you. But you must understand what is and what is not there in the past.
That's a
Heavy
good soup.
Yeah.
Good soup.
What does your daily schedule look like, Abhi?
My daily schedule
How do you like find time to read? Do you follow a schedule?
in Baroda, where I'm studying, I go to college. Uske baad I come back around 4-ish after having chai with my friends in other departments. थोड़ा घूम फिर के we come back. उसके बाद I watch some Netflix, which is my favorite OTT platform after movie. And then उसके बाद मैं क्या करता हूँ, क्योंकि उधर बुक्स बहुत कम है, तो आई रीड ऑन PDFs. तो कभी कभी कुछ असाइनमेंट होते हैं तो आई रीड दैट. 8 बज जाता है, खाना खा के सो जाता हूँ. दैट्स वेरी बोरिंग स्केड्यूल. But I read for about 2 hours, 3 hours.
Every day.
Yeah. For my research, for the book that I am writing, or for my own assignments. In Delhi, whenever I come to Delhi, it's much busier because I have some meetings. Then I have to meet a few people that are my good friends. तो उनके यहाँ जाता हूँ. These book launches happening every day in Delhi, so I attend those. I attend movie screenings in Delhi, in IHC, in India International Center and India Habitat Center. So yeah, that's my routine. And whenever we have a Karwaan lecture, it just adds up to those 24 hours, making it a mess. So time management बहुत मुश्किल होता है. When you have to also reply to emails, I get a lot of emails from different publishers, speakers that I wrote to, and they replied. So we have to respond to those. So it takes a lot of time. For me, I don't get any time to kind of just sit back and relax. वो Netflix वाला time पे ही होता है जो होता है. आराम से बैठ के Netflix देख रहे हैं बस. That's the only time that I have. That 2-4 hours, maybe 2 घंटा रात में और दिन में रुक के कहीं पे आधा घंटा. That's my schedule.
What are your future plans with Karwaan? Like, do you want to run it as a startup? अभी क्या सीन चल रहा है? Are there other people joining in?
Yeah, we have volunteers and we have 5 core team members. It's a collective, it's not an organization or company. It's not that, it's a collective. And we'll continue it as a collective for many years, hopefully, if people keep listening to us and follow us. So we'll continue it and let's see where it goes. I don't have any plans to make it very commercial. We want to keep it accessible, especially for students, because those are our first priority. We started this initiative when we were students. We are students. We'll continue it for the students of any age, because when you are a student, age doesn't matter. We have followers who are 90 plus. We have followers who are in school. So we get all sorts of extremes as our viewers. So we'll try to serve all of them forever, if forever exists. And let's see, we'll keep our fight on for academic history in a nation, in a world that is somewhat anti-intellectual, anti-historic. So yeah.
And in a time where one desperately needs it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. बहुत serious हो गया. Let's come to the fun part. Movie recommendations. Movie, books, and maybe poetry. You can do
Yeah,
that,
definitely poetry.
For poetry, I would recommend you to read Javed Akhtar. He is somebody I really admire. Rahat Indori, his books. He was a great orator also, and I got to meet him twice
Oh.
in person. He was a great, great guy. I've never met Javed Saab. Maybe, hopefully, very soon. But
मैंने बस तरकश पढ़ी है.
तरकश. उसके अलावा पीयूष मिश्रा भी अच्छा लिखते हैं. But
काम भला क्या काम हुआ.
हाँ.
He's also written about Bhagat Singh a
But
lot.
that काम भला का क्या हुआ is originally Faz's prose.
पीयूष मिश्रा वैसे लिखता है ना, वो किसी और का कॉन्टेक्स्ट लेके फिर.
हाँ.
He's really good at that.
So वो बहुत अच्छी किताब है. उनकी जितनी भी किताबें हैं. So I think these are the people that I really. Harivansh Rai Bachchan is somebody I really like. Madhushala and Madhubala and other poetry. So I have a poetry collection of. I really liked some of the poetries of Atal Bihari Vajpayee because of his use of language. वो शुद्ध हिंदी में जो लिखते थे. Some of his poetry is very problematic, but I really like Atal Bihari Vajpayee's writing. So I think those are the poetry recommendations. I do not read English poetry क्योंकि अंग्रेजी वैसे ही नहीं आती, तो पोइट्री पढ़ के क्या ही कर लेंगे. So I remember क्लास 5th में एक पोएम थी, टॉपसी टर्वी लैंड. वो मैं कई बार पढ़ लेता हूँ उसको अपने. मुझे बड़ा पसंद है.
द ब्रुक, जो लोगों को बहुत इरिटेटिंग लगती थी. वो पानी नीचे आ रहा है पहाड़ से. इंग्लिश उसमें थी, बहुत वियर्ड सी थी.
English NCERT.
हाँ, इंग्लिश एनसीईआरटी में.
Fucking annoying.
So इंग्लिश एनसीईआरटी पोएम्स आर द वर्स्ट. आई थिंक उसकी वजह से मैं इंग्लिश पोएट्री नहीं पढ़ पाता.
Yeah, that's true. But they have good story collection English NCERT. When I got to know about Sudha Murthy, how I taught my grandmother to read.
Yeah.
And that became my favorite story because it also was my case. I taught my grandmother to read. And after that I read that book. मैंने कहा ये मेरे बारे में किसने लिखा. फिर मुझे लगा अच्छा सुधा ने लिखा. Then I met Sudha Murthy. I got all her books and that was the biggest moment of my life. And part of this historian job, as you said, is to meet really exciting people like them, like Sudha Murthy and Rahat Indori. So you get to spend good amount of time. So if you really like meeting people, history is your domain. You get
especially like in college, like for example, you read a book by Romila Thapar and then you meet her in person.
Yes.
It must be exciting.
Yeah, that was. It's a great.
A little fan moment.
Every time, whenever I meet these people, it's really a fan moment for me because we are nowhere close to them intellectually. So So whenever you get to hear them, उनके लिए तो उनका तो समय बर्बाद होता है हमसे मिलने में, लेकिन when we meet them, it's such a great time that I have and my friends have whenever we meet them. So yeah, where was I? I was talking about the poetry.
Poetry.
Yeah. So that much for poetry. Movies, I have seen a lot of films. There are so many films that I can recommend, but I would start with something like Subarna Rekha by Ritvik Ghatak on the partition of India. People talk about Meghe Dhaga Tara by Ghatak as the best film ever made. But I think Subarna Rekha, which was second of the partition trilogy by Ritvik Ghatak, that was a film that talked about Subarna Rekha is the golden line. So it's about the division of India and Bengal, Pakistan, East Pakistan and India.
Yeah.
So that is a film that I really like. I liked Shyam Benegal's Manthan, which was the first film financed by farmers of Anand. Every farmer gave 1 rupee and that became 3 lakh or 4 lakh rupees at the end. That made the film what it is. I really like films of Saeed Akhtar Mirza, be it Mohan Joshi, Hazir Ho, Arvind Desai ki Ajeeb Dastan, Salim Langde Pe Matro, Albert Pinto Ko Gussa Kyun Aata Hai, Naseem. All his 5 films, great films. I would recommend people to watch a film called Party by Govind Nihalani, which was banned, I think, in 70s.
Yeah. And now it's like, especially on like social media, you see people sharing clips of Party.
Yeah. Jaane Bhi Do Yaro is a film that got this journalist into trouble, I think.
अभी कुछ रिसेंटली हुआ भी है ना जो एक पुल गिर गया जो बिल्कुल जाने भी दो यारो. That's why history is important.
Yeah. So those are the films that Kundan Shah's Jaane Bhi Do Yaro. Then Sudhir Mishra's Dharavi is a nice film.
Yeah. The Om Puri film. I also like Dilip Kumar's Devdas. Not Shah Rukh Khan's Devdas. I'm not a Shah Rukh Khan fan. I've seen him in many movies. Abhi to he's doing anything, but earlier films of this, My Name is Khan, Shah Rukh's My Name is Khan is a film that I really like. Chak De India is also a nice film that if you want to watch. Yeah, it's a nice film. Not very good, but okay. Parallel, if you want to watch, I think Saeed and these people are really great. Swayamvaram and Mukhamukham by Adur Gopalakrishnan if you want to go beyond Hindi. And if our viewers and audiences from different part of the world, they should watch that. You can also watch The Rare Window, Alfred Hitchcock. The Rare Window is one hell of a film. It's a beautiful film, and it's a Hollywood suggestion that I would give. You can watch any film of Ozu or this person called Truffaut in France, New Wave, and Jean-Luc Godard, all his films. G. Aravindan's, I'm yet to watch it. I've heard a lot about G. Aravindan's film, but Film Heritage Foundation, headed by Shivendra Dungarpur, they have just restored the last reel of G. Aravindan's film, and they are showing it in Venice and other big film festivals. So I'm trying to arrange a screening, and hopefully I'll go to their archive and watch it someday. So I think those are the film recommendations. You can watch n number of films. Every film is a different thing, and for me, if I go on talking about film, I could spend 5 hours speaking about just the films. On Amitabh Bachchan, I would say you can watch, because he's also one of my favorite actors. You can watch Diwar, the making of Angry Young Man, and that power that he had. And I watched at one point, I'm very embarrassed about it, I watched Baghban for like 150 times, more than that. Whenever it used to be on TV, I would watch it. That was my craze for Baghban. So
yeah, those are the film. And did you ask for another book recommendation or
Yeah.
something?
The third thing is the book recommendation.
Oof, books. I have a collection of 500 plus books at my place. I have a big library.
Yeah, we see that in the video.
Yeah, that's my favorite space in my house. Second to kitchen. For book recommendation, I would recommend you to read Manu Pillai, who is a wonderful writer. And his books, you can read Ivory Throne, you can read Rebel Sultan, you can read False Allies, any of his book, brilliant. You can read Anirudh Kanisetti's Lord of the Deccan, Rana Safvi's books on Delhi, and Rakshanda Jali's book on Delhi actually is also very nice. Vikramjit Singh Ruprai, because we mentioned him, so his book on Baoli is a good book to read. And I think he's writing a book on the forts also.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
10 Forts of Delhi is going to be a great book. I would recommend you to read Romila Thapar's Early India and the Past is Present, Contemporary Heritage. I don't remember that name, but I've read the book. So that is wonderful. I would recommend, if you are very new to history, you just want to know the basics, I would recommend you to read R.S. Sharma's India's Ancient Pasts and Upinder Singh's A History of Early Medieval and Medieval India. Early India and something. It's a red book. You can just search. It's the Bible of history students in first year. Everybody reads that. So I would recommend you to read that if you just want to know the basics. In Upinder Singh's books, you would get a lot more than basics, but basics also. For medieval India, this was mostly ancient early India. If you want to read medieval India, I would recommend you to read Satish Chandra's History of Medieval India, which I think everybody reads for UPSC. It's that basic book. I would recommend you to read Richard Eaton's India in the Persianate Age and Sunil Kumar's Delhi's Past and Present. Sunil Kumar was one of the best historians on Delhi Sultanate. He passed away very young at 56 or something. He was very young and he was in Delhi University. He passed away during COVID. So his book on Delhi and the making of Delhi Sultanate is also a book that you should read about Sultanate Delhi. Because you mentioned about Delhi's history. So that's why I thought I would mention this book. On Tawaifs, as I said, Tawaif Nama by Saba Diwan and Veena Talwar Oldenburg's the Lucknow Omnibus by Veena Talwar Oldenburg is a great book to read. It's a little specialized book, so you would need a little interest in academic reading. And whatever I'm mentioning, most of them are publicly accessible books that anybody can read. On modern India, people often mention Bipin Chandra's 2-volume work. I don't remember the name, but it's, I think, India's Struggle for Independence and India Since Independence, 2 books. I would recommend From Plassey to Partition and After by Shekhar Bandyopadhyay. Achal Malhotra's work on oral history is very nice. And you can read it if you want, if you are interested in oral histories. Kavita Puri's Partition Voices, Anam Zakaria's work on both India, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Kashmir. So she's a wonderful writer. I would recommend you to read, I can recommend you to read n number of books. And I would also recommend you to read some children book also, क्योंकि वो बड़ा अच्छी किताबें हैं, हम उसे appreciate नहीं करते. There's the series by Roshan Dalal, History of India for Children. Beautiful book, fully illustrated for basic understanding. You can read that. Archana Garodia Gupta and Shruti Garodia Gupta, they've written children's book on history. And Subhadra Sen Gupta has written many books on history. You all must read those 3 authors. Don't think that it's for children, it's not meant for you. If you do not know anything about history, you are worse than a child. So at least start from there. Develop an interest in history and then go for R.S. Sharma, Bipin Chandra, Romila Thapar, Irfan Habib, I have not mentioned, but he's somebody. These are the doyens of Indian history. But you should also read people like Manu Pillai, Anirudh Karni, young people who are writing about India's past. And
These are young historians.
Young historians. And these are the next gen historians. So the music pe, I have heard a lot of people. I have heard. I listen to a lot of old Hindi music. I listen to K.L. Sehgal, 40s ke Badshah, 30s ke Badshah. I listen to early Muhammad Rafi and early career of Lata Mangeshkar. I hate Lata Mangeshkar of 90s, जो कि 3 generation के लिए गा दी है. It's not an achievement, you know. And you sense that crack in her voice in later songs. It's not an achievement that you can boost off. I don't know, and I don't like her in the late 80s and 90s that she was singing. I love her for till 40s 50s that she had to sing.
We were also listening that song from Mahal movie.
Yeah.
I gaane wala nahi.
Yeah.
Then Ashok Kumar's song, Ashok Kumar used to sing. He was a classically trained singer. अशोक कुमार के अर्ली 1-2 गाने उन्होंने गाए हैं और वो बहुत अच्छे हैं, क्योंकि पहले ज़माने में प्लेबैक नहीं होता था, तो सिंगर्स हैड टू सिंग अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स. दिलीप कुमार ने भी शायद एक गाना गाया है अपने जीवन में. आई लव नूर जहान अ लॉट. नूर जहान went to Pakistan in 47, but her last film Jugnu in 47, beautiful film. I forgot to mention that in the recommendation. Beautiful songs, listen to that. अनमोल घड़ी का गाने सुनिए आप नूर जहान के. Then Abida Parveen from Pakistan, Ghulam Ali from Pakistan, Mehndi Hasan from Pakistan, Ali Sethi currently is one of my favorites, and there's Shai Gill who wrote sang this Pasudi with him.
Yeah, Ali Sethi.
That song is my favorite right now. I'm grooving on that. इसके अलावा I think those are my mainstream recommend. Kishore Kumar of course goes without saying. Manna Dey, Kishore Kumar, these people you all know.
Yeah.
People don't know about Shamshad Begum that much. I would recommend Shamshad Begum to you. Rekha Bharadwaj, कविता सेठ. कविता सेठ का एक बड़ा अच्छा ठुमरी है रंगी सारी गुलाबी चुनरिया, जो उन्होंने अपने बेटे के साथ कंपोज किया कनिष्क सेठ के साथ. ब्यूटिफुल कॉम्पोजिशन. There's Namita Chaudhary also, very young talented singer. Those are my favorite mainstream singers. For classic, ठुमरी is also semi classic, but I love Begum Akhtar. I love people like Pandita Jay Chakrabarti. I would also include Carnatic music in Indian classical music, because we often say कि हिंदुस्तानी classical अलग है और कर्नाटिक अलग है, but स्वर तो वही है, सारे गामा पा धनी सा साथ हैं. अभी इसमें कितना भी लड़ लो, they would remain the same in all sorts of singing. So Indian classical में I would recommend you. Lalgudi Jayaraman is also good, very old. And किशोरी अमोलकर को मैंने बहुत कम सुना है, जितना सुना है बहुत अच्छा है. There's somebody from Kirana Gharana also, I don't remember her name abhi, but I'll tell you later. You could add it in the subtitle or something. People can look to the description of the video for the recommendation maybe. So I think those are my favorite music recommendations for you.
Perfect. And कुछ historians जो लोग follow कर सकते हैं?
सभी हिस्टोरियन को फॉलो करना चाहिए. आई वोंट से कि इस हिस्टोरियन को फॉलो करो उसको मत करो. दैट वुड बी इनजस्टिस टू माई डिसिप्लिन ऑफ हिस्ट्री, बिकॉज हिस्ट्री इज बेस्ड ऑन डिबेट्स एंड डिस्कशंस and conclusions of those discussions and theories. So I won't recommend you to read a historian and do not read that other historian. Read all. It is important to read all, because that would give you a complete image of the past. Not in complete image, but certainly to a greater extent the possible image of the past. Because as I said in early part of the podcast, history, you can't reconstruct the entire history. There's no entire history as such. It's a jigsaw puzzle. When you kind of listen to these people, you kind of prepare the puzzle, solve the puzzle in some senses. So read about all of them. Historians are not considered celebrities. I think they should be. They should be considered celebrities because they have a big role to play. So yeah, read about all of them.
Any historians that you would recommend that you personally like watching their content or maybe reading?
I've read all of them, and I've recommended few of them in this podcast also, but I love listening to people like Irfan Sahab, Romila Thapar, people like Manu Pillai. When they speak really good. I like Achal Malhotra, as I said, when they speak really good. So I think, yeah, those are too young, too old. As in numerical too. You could consider TWO also, because Romila and Irfan are 90 plus, and Achal and Manu are in their 30s now, or late 20s at least.
What about other Instagram pages that we could follow?
Oh, my rivals.
Your competitors.
The competitors. No, there's no competition, because history is a very limited space. And right now, not many pages are doing what some pages are doing. This is the era of influencers. So people rely on reels and etc. But people forget about the real, not so romanticized history. Because when you are into this influenza culture, influenza as I say it, influencer nahi, influenza. तो बीमारी है ये. So when you get into that space, you kind of try to romanticize the past to fit your content to a certain audience. That is very problematic. People do that. But I would recommend you to follow first Karwaan, Karwaan, Heritage. Yeah. Then because these, most of them are led by students, young people, I would give them priority. My friend Eric runs Itihasology. Please follow that. Though they have much more followers than us. So if Eric is listening, please give us a shout out too. No, but in reality, Itihasology people can follow. Mad Mughal memes, they use memes as a medium to tell history. Good friends, follow them. There is Sahapedia used to do good work. I don't know if they are active on social media or not. Sahapedia was very popular at one point when we started. There was only Sahapedia that we knew.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are not many people, unfortunately. I could only name 2. And there are other pages, this Timurid history, medieval Indian history. I can recall We Tell a Tale or something like that. So there are so many pages, but not very active. Very active are Itihasology, Karwaan, Mad Mughal memes. And yeah, these are the few pages that I would recommend. 3 pages that every history people should read. Also, of course, the Heritage Lab run by a very good friend of mine. It's a beautiful initiative. It's not a page. It's an initiative where they are taking museums to young people. So the Heritage Lab is Medhavi Gandhi's Heritage Lab is a page that you should follow. So yeah, those are my recommendations of my rivals. Yeah.
Future में क्या scene है? Like, are you writing a book?
Yes, I'm writing a book. Hopefully it would be out by 24. I won't speak about the book now. Otherwise you won't invite me for the second episode.
Is it about like history in India?
It relates to cinema and cinema's history. A certain period of Indian cinema. And it's one of the first books on that theme, unfortunately. Because that theme is so important to India. That period is also very important to India, but nobody ever tried to write a history of that period. So hopefully it would be out in 24. I'm taking a lot of time in research and writing, and yeah.
Great. All right.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
कुछ
Thank you.
आखिरी नोट, कुछ आखिरी मैसेज हमारे श्रोताओं के लिए, हमारे दर्शकों के लिए.
दर्शक और सुनने वालों दोनों के लिए माय ओनली मैसेज इज सावधान रहें, सतर्क रहें और देखते रहें कल्चरशाला.
He was not talking about crime petrol. Just to be clear. और like contemporary times में अभी जो हम देख रहे हैं, जिस स्टेट में हम यहाँ इंडिया में भी और बाहर भी, why do you think, like I heard a podcast by जिसमें Kanye West बोलता है कि we should like remove history books, curriculum say, and we should only focus on the present, future. Why do you think history is important more than ever, abhi current times in which we are living?
I think we should remove his raps. Word would be much better without him. His raps and his creation, whatever. But history is terribly important because increasingly it is being used to appropriate historical wrongs or political present. So it is important to read up because otherwise politicians are going to teach you what history is. If you really want to know what history is, you should read historians and not rely on people who have good oratory skills and good fashion sense giving lectures on history. क्या बोला था a plus b का whole square is equal to whatever 3ab or 2ab. So don't rely on them. Rely on your own research. Believe in yourself. You are a good researcher. You are on your own way. And I don't know about that Kanye West. I've not heard about him. I do not follow his music, fortunately. But whoever says history is not important, just don't listen to them. History is very important because it is what it is. And we are made up of past. We live in the past. We always think about the past. I might think about this podcast back home. We always we reside in the past. We never think about the future as much as we think about the past. So if somebody is saying remove 5,000 years of India's history or remove whatever few centuries of India's history, what would you do without that? How would you understand your own existence? सबको existential crisis हो जाएगा कि कहाँ से आए थे कहाँ को जाएंगे. So, terribly important.
All right, Shooksha. Let's wrap it up. Thank you so much, Eshaan. We'll do a fist thing. Also follow Karwaan Heritage. Also follow Karwaan, the Instagram page. Also the YouTube channel. All right. This is it. Bye.
And follow culture.
Yeah. Shout out. Like, share and subscribe कर लेना.
लाइक करें, शेयर करें, सब्सक्राइब करें. व्हाट्सएप पर आप जरूर भेजें जो मुझे सुन रहे हैं, अगर सुन रहे हैं, क्योंकि व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी के अगेंस्ट ये फाइट है हिस्ट्री की. शेयर इट एंड कल्चरशाला इज डूइंग ग्रेट जॉब. Support them, suggest them speakers, and if Chai Point or other points are listening to us, sponsor them.
We'll mention the UPI number नीचे.
जितना आपको डोनेशन मिले.
हाँ.
9911.
हाँ.
Keep following them. They told me that they have got some great people before me, some rappers and fun people. Now they started the boring bit of history.
Yeah, sure.
But with people who are making history more fun. So it's your responsibility to listen to them. All the best. Take care.
All right.